Before we get into the video today, to give a quick update on the GoFundMe, as of recording, we're at the 4,000 mark out of our $7,000 USD goal. Rent and bills are once more rapidly approaching, but we're also extremely close to adding the first 3 hours of Convoy No Nazo to our stream schedule. If you want to help me and my girlfriend survive long enough to get out of Wisconsin and get to safety, head down to the GoFundMe in the description. Even if you don't donate yourself, just spreading it around as much as you can really does help massively. Now anyway, on to our video. Hey there, boils, ghouls, and all you lovely stars. Tiv here, and today we're going to be talking about the Terrorcons. What? No, not those ones. Or them! No, not them. I'm talking about the ones who should probably sue those later ones for defamation. The only ones who aren't Unicron servants. Or at least, the power of the Prime's incarnation of them. Now these bots were sent to me by a lovely friend of mine, Simcat. We've got all but Cindersaur here, and let's be honest, Cindersaur isn't really a Terrorcon anyway. But let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, starting with our boy Rippersnapper, in robot mode, he's got a build and look that does admittedly make him stand immediately out when compared to other Combiner War style dudes. His guns mounted on his back also really help change up the silhouette in comparison to them. Now when it comes to his articulation though, Rippersnapper, on merit of his biped to biped transformation, has some surprises compared to other Prime Wars combiners. And by some surprises, I mean he's quite literally the only one to have wrists. Really not much you can do with it, but it is a nice addition. Now his transformation is a bit different from many, given the whole biped to biped thing. A trend we'll see carry over with Blot later. When it comes to Rippersnapper's alt mode, truth be told, I am simply astounded that this man isn't at all related to the Sharktacons, especially when you compare him to the Forged to Fight ones. Though when it comes to his articulation in this form, it honestly mostly carries over from the robot mode. But, you know, he's got an opening jaw now, which is something I'm sure we all wish we had. He really is just a fantastic little dude all around, though. Now, on to our next spot, we've got Cutthroat, our big yellow terror bird from hell. And aesthetically, I mean, he's alright. He's a very obvious retool of Swoop. But I think the mold maybe serves Cutthroat just a little better than Swoop. And you know, he's a lot sturdier and less spindly in comparison, at least in the legs and torso department. While Swoop is practically falling apart at the seams. It's not pretty. Now, Cutthroat has got a decent amount of articulation, but the bird head on his chest is extremely finicky about staying put. If you're not gentle with it, the bird head will absolutely fall off. Though the transformation is alright, despite the head constantly falling off. And you know, the bird mode has a little bit of posability, but much like I thought with Swoop and the Air Razors, you really don't expect aerial alt modes to do all that much in terms of posability. But you know, he's still worth it for the final combination. But otherwise, I really do think I would avoid him purely because of those head issues. But now we head on to a most sinful bot, which is to say, we're now talking about Sinnertwin, who is the most obviously inspired / retooled from the quadrupedal Dinobots. He's about as posable as them, but his kibble really doesn't get in the way nearly as much as it did for the Dinobots. As such, he's a lot more articulated, especially since you can actually get some stuff out of his bicep swivels. I do quite like him. And his transformation, well, it's smooth as heckle. Now, the twin-headed dragon form Sinnertwin has is just fragging awesome, and I can't say that enough, though it is a bit weird that both of the dragons in the set are wingless. And he is just a tad redundant when we take their fearless leader into account. Now, articulation-wise, I mean, Sinnertwin is really solid all around, and he's got some really great articulation in his neck and in his heads, which makes him a real joy to toy around with in beast mode. You definitely shouldn't miss this guy. And now on to the last of the limbs, and my favorite bot of the lot, we've got the oozy, the vile, the vicious, Blot. And you know, in robot mode, Blot is a very purple dude. I really enjoy the way his red optics stand out so well against his robot head. Other than the big ol' face on his back, you really wouldn't think much on how he'd transform. From all angles, he seems a pretty standard take on the modern Scramble Combiner dude. And, you know, his articulation isn't really all that crazy either, but it's really serviceable despite that. But now, his transformation, it pulls some surprising moves. So why don't we go check that out right now?
Bold, brave, and cold heart. Distance is little. Wow. Power he possesses is incredible. He doesn't stand a chance.
And in beast mode, Blot turns into... well, TF Wiki doesn't know. He comes off as kind of goblin-y to me, and Takara says he's an ogre. Renegade Studios says he's a goo monster. Yeah, I don't know about that goo thing. I mean, for that to work, a Cybertronian would have to be like some sort of nanite swarm or something. Now, my girlfriend thinks he's a kobold, and I figured, you know, given that he hangs around a pair of dragons, that does make sense. However, she insisted the evidence was actually that he's my favorite, and that I'm supposedly a dragon. You know, and I'm sure I have no idea what she means by that. And I'm also told that in Mandarin his name literally means blood-soaked bear. So, you know, I guess keep him away from the cocaine. Either way you slice it, though, Blot is one funkadelic little dude, and I really do dig him. His articulation in monster mode really hasn't degraded that much in comparison to his robot mode. Sure, he lost head articulation, but when you've got a face like this in monster mode, do you really need to be able to turn your head around? Nah, I really don't think so either. But I guess now that brings us to talk about our big boss monster. The white and purple meanie with a Vorkink. We're talking about Hun-gurr. Now in robot mode, Hun-gurr really does give off an imposing presence. He's got spikes all over, a mean visage. He's got spooky eyes on his feet, and the visor on his head just betrays no real emotion behind them. You could be just imagining who knows what behind those shades. And on top of the imposing looks, thanks to his transformation, he's actually got quite a good deal more posability than his Voyager-class torso brethren, adding something we all take for granted far too much these days, an ankle joint. And after that, we get into plenty of nice swivels in the thighs and some really solid ratchets all throughout the toy, which really does let our hungry boy get into a plethora of dynamic poses. And his transformation is pretty simple as it gets. Now, Hun-gurr's dragon mode really isn't all that posable, and his heads are just a little more limited in their movement when compared to Sinnertwin. Never mind the peeling stickers there, but overall, I'd say he's a super solid dragon man. And you know, his torso mode is also easy to swoosh right into too. So without further ado, let's wake the beast and raise Abominus! Abominus is actually a surprising delight as far as the modern Scramble-style combiners go. Not only are his aesthetics absolutely on point, Sinnertwin now having his heads on display in limb mode as opposed to the G1 version, the overall mishmash of our villainous quintet gives off a very intimidating look. And when it comes to his posability, you can actually make use of it at all. Like, at all without it feeling like it's going to fall to bits. And this is just the vanilla combiner kibble rather than the perfect effect parts Sim included as a bonus. Speaking of, here's how he looks with those. Now I'm pretty sure these are actually intended for the Power of the Prime Starscream combiner, but they work pretty well for Abominus too. And on top of that, I mean, I can give Blot a twin pair of cannons now. Not to mention arm up the entire team even more. And you know, these are really just fantastic all around. I really have to thank Sim for sending them. So, should you pick up the Power of the Prime's Terrorcons? Well, only if you have good taste and aren't so cartoon obsessed that you end up going on a wild goose hunt trying to track down the Unite Warrior set instead. Because woo boy, you are not going to find that affordably. Or at all. Anyway, that's just my take on these guys. I am going to try and Blot forever up in the Himalayas. And I've been Tiv, your all-stars, and I'll see you guys next video, or next stream, we'll see. Make the silhouette a lot different. Wah la llama, llama llama, da 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 da. And when it comes to Rippersnapper's alt mode, truth be told, I'm absolutely astounded that now Sinnertwin black. Let's try that again. And now on to the last of the limbs, and my favorite pod of the lot, we've got the oozy, the vile, the vicious Blot. On his feet, that his visor just betrays no real emotion. Yeah. He's also got a lot of and on top of the boobs. Yeah.